Okay, thank you. This is the planning board meeting of December 16. We have a short agenda. We have a quorum. Is there a motion to open the meeting?
Motion?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Our first item is the resolution that we're under consideration for CG Homes. This is at 456 and 462 Armonk Road. Last time around, we adopted a negative declaration and we closed the public hearing. But we had some discussion items still open on the resolution. So we have a draft here before us this evening. This is an application for a preliminary subdivision plat approval, application for a stormwater management and erosion and sedimentation control and tree removal permit for construction of a 4-lot, well, really 5-lot, but 4 lots with 4 homes, but a 5-lot subdivision. So we have the draft resolution before us. We have a new version. I hope everyone got it. There's some red lines in there. I think it would be important, you guys haven't done a subdivision, so I think it's important for us to go through some of the major points. I don't think it's gonna be important for us to go through all of the stormwater issues in detail. I mean, that stuff is left to the engineers, left to staff. But there are a couple of items in here that are I think are important. And just to give some context and reasons as to why they're in here. So we have, and Bob Searley prepared an executive summary, and I have that in for staff. But you'll notice that we talk about, and we talked about this on other applications, and this is why we talk about it, because it comes from the subdivision when it was approved. Where we have, it should not exceed 110% of the figure identified in the coverage, and the disturbance on the entire lot, the development should not exceed 115%. The reason for this, the background on this was, we used to get applications in for subdivisions, and these folks would draw little tiny 1,000 square foot little boxes in there with no pools, no development, no improvements, and it was just unrealistic. And then we would get the actual applications in, and we felt that they were basically bypassing the planning board, the environmental review board, conservation board, whoever else had, zoning board, who had jurisdiction on these things. Because what would happen is you'd have now a much larger house and you'd have environmental impacts that were not considered. You know, slopes were different, cut and fill was different, stormwater was different, we now have a pool, what are we doing there? And so what we said was, we started to tell applicants, give us a realistic sizing of what you wanna do on that lot. Show us where you're gonna put a pool, if you're thinking about a pool, a tennis court, or whatever it might be. And if you recall, I actually asked the applicant once if these were realistic boxes that he was showing, and of a certain square footage that would make sense for the actual development. The reason for that is not to trap folks, but really that we get a realistic look at what the impacts are gonna be upfront. So we adopted this a long time ago on some major subdivisions that we had, so that's why we have it. And again, I think we're okay, we'll hear from the applicant, but we wanna make sure that the numbers that they're using and the impacts that we've considered are realistic. Will they be 100% exact in the field? Of course not, but I mean close enough. So the next thing is, I wouldn't say this is really standard, it's become a little bit more standard, but we have on page 7, number 9, and this is I don't think it's gonna be a problem for the applicant, but in any event, we have started, because DEC has kind of asked us to consider the proper season for cutting and clearing trees if there are northern long-eared bats or Indiana bats in the area. I believe we went through a very comprehensive study for one application, and I believe that these bats basically live a little bit north of us, maybe 15-20 miles north of us, but they could come down. And the issue is they nest during the summer and I guess spring and summer, is it, Dennis? Something like that, but the cutting season is November through May? Is that?
You working? Okay. Yeah, I mean basically, so in summary, in order to just avoid, any incidental takes, in accordance with the Federal Endangered Species Act, it's like it's not considered a sensitive habitat as a whole, so you're allowed to do what you have to do, but it's, I guess the best policy now, they've been through this for a while now, and DEC concurs, is that just avoid the summer maternal roost seasons, so for any potential, because if they're, doing their winter hibernation, they're not gonna be there, so at least when you take the tree down, you're not directly impacting or affecting any of the individuals, so this is the safest way to basically comply with that.
So it's something that we haven't seen with the applications that we get for wetlands and steep slopes, et cetera, so that's why it's there. Something that's relatively new, we've done the last 5 or 6 years, but that's why it's there. The next thing, we really hadn't talked about it very much, but I think the presumption was when we talked about this application that Dennis identified the meadow in the back to be to the west. Of great importance and fairly unique for the town, and we really wanted to protect it. So one of the items is obviously where we've been talking about demarcations and not having any incursion into the wetland buffer. Obviously in addition to the wetland buffer and the conservation easement, I think we're gonna propose that the clearing and grading limit lines would be coterminous. So it's no impact really to the applicant because it's gonna be the same line, but basically, where we have that fence that we're gonna put in the back, it will be there, but we really want to identify clearing and grading limit lines. Usually it's very important to have clearing and grading limit lines in conservation developments. And it's something that we tend to watch fairly carefully. So that's what you'll see on is number 22 on page 9, it's number 62 on page 14. There's a reference to the clearing and grading limit lines. We can look at those in some detail. But the concept is we had not really spoken about it, but I think the presumption is that we would want to see that be the clearing and grading limit line as well as the same line for the conservation development as well as the wetland buffer. Now, this is something that we talked about, but we had a conversation this morning, and the engineering folks really think that we should not just use a split rail fence for the back, for the demarcation. And the reason for that is they rot after a while. And who's going to enforce, and how are we going to assure that we have this demarcation and protection of this meadow and the wetland buffer and also clearing and grading limit lines? So the thought was, I think the town engineer, Jeff's idea was that he would want to see, what was it, Jeff, like a 30-inch wall with stone wall with fencing on top of that, and then of course the sign that Dennis, I don't know if Dennis ever finished the design of the sign, but we saw some some sketches. In any event, some signage as well. So this is a change because I think the board had really been satisfied with a split rail fence and some some sort of chicken wire fencing on it. But the engineers think that it would be better to have something more permanent that is going to last, I don't know about perpetuity, but certainly last longer than a split rail fence, so we don't have problems with enforcement. So this is something that, Ralph, do you want to comment on that or run for the hills or what on it? Again, it's kind of a curve because I think we had resolved on a split rail fence and some chicken wire to protect the area.
I think that's where we landed with the split rail fence and chicken wire, and I think that kind of goes with the feel of the whole place. Greg is on the call also, and I will add that the stone wall is gonna add a lot more cost.
I think the issue for us is transparency, and the fact of the matter is we don't want to cut off the houses from the backyard and meadow visually, because that's one of them.
Can I make a suggestion to maybe put some boulders down or something so that in the event that the fence deteriorates, there is still a boundary there?
Sure, that's where I was going. I was going to say that, proper, just boulders defining it and then the fence. And as far as the height of a fence, I know this here, I know it's 6 feet. We would probably like to keep it closer to 4 feet for the same transparency. Because the reality is it's just creates a barrier. Dennis was concerned about people throwing trash and accessing it, but in reality we want to have as open a feel as possible and have that connection from the inside to outside.
Can I say one thing, as far as just drafting approach? Just make sure you show certain details on the plans, because I don't believe at this point in time, there's any details or sections on the plan, so we wanna keep it consistent from lot 1, 2, 3, and 4 as well, so. That'd be great, of course, everyone can look at it and, like, but if you're gonna put the stone in addition to the split rail with the chicken wire, is that what you're thinking, Greg?
Well, I wasn't sure about chicken wire, because the reality is the purpose of the question is what's the purpose of the fence? So Dennis was concerned about people actually accessing the back. So once you put the split rail in and you put additional stones below at certain distances, that prevents people from getting the equipment into it and kind of just, basically, encourages people to stay away, but at the same time visually connect it. So, because the last thing you want to do is create, who's going to enjoy this if you're going to have a chicken wire, hand fence, and a stone wall? I mean, it's like, it doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. And I think
Whatever the planning board decides, and you guys, that's fine, just wanted you to show detail.
yeah, we'll show it
We can take a look at it.
Yeah, we'll see the standard detail.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Greg.
sure.
Bob and Jeff, do you have suggestions, or Dennis, in terms of the spacing of boulders, what you want to see? I mean, I think the applicant has made a very nice argument that he wants that open field so he can enjoy the site of the meadow. I mean, it's one of the things that we're protecting.
The wall we were talking about how to demarcate this, the wall is 30 inches tall, it's not going to block any views. As far as the fence goes, nobody was talking about a 6 foot tall fence. This is really just for demarcating. It can be 36 inches or 42 inches. The chicken wire I don't think is particularly necessary. The chicken wire is good to keep people from falling through things, like if you're using it as a guard. But the chicken wire is not particularly necessary in this case, I don't think.
Well, I think
it's really more for like fall protection.
I think the reason.
Kids don't fall through it.
Well, I don't think it was for safety. I think the reason for that was Dennis was concerned that we'd have people blowing stuff down into the meadow, mowers and that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
So having something that would keep the leaves being blown and the grass being blown down there. And I probably misused the word chicken wire. I think it was something a little bit better than that.
Some kind of 4x4, welded wire.
4x2. I think there's like a 4x2 that's 48 inches high that works well with split rails. Split rails, yes, they 10 to 15 years, and then they really start to go, especially the rails as they rot. But in the document, we have the homeowners responsible for. We have this. I think the homeowners we call out. Let me just find the right page. Bear with me 1 second. On page 5, there's a whereas where they're responsible for stormwater management, the integrity of the fence, and tree planting. So doesn't that kind of just put on the responsibility of the homeowner in 15 years to maintain it? Food for thought for the group. And while we're on that whereas, I'm wondering if we should add to it the driveways, because who maintains the driveways once you get off of 128? Aren't they kind of common, like the fence and the management of the stormwater and the tree planting?
There is a maintenance agreement.
Oh, okay, so it's covered someplace else?
Yeah.
Okay, great, then forget it.
What are the thoughts of the board? Personally, I'm okay with a split rail fence and some sort of additional wire on it, as we discussed before. And then with the boulders, whatever spacing you guys, Dennis and Bob and Jeff, think is appropriate.
Right,
Maybe 30.
Well, it's gonna be contingent upon the size of the boulder, right? I mean, if you have, because if you think about it, so this is a meadow area. I mean, you have things reaching a few feet in height at maturity, in terms of, all those herb species. So, if there's stones that are, only that, you could pick up with 2 hands and drop them, they're clear on a lawn, but they're not gonna be clear in a meadow. So I concur that this doesn't have to be a wall. I assume everybody who has that PE after their name, they like to go in that direction because it helps to put their fingerprint on it. But I'm okay with, just boulders and, depending on the size of the boulders, to me that would dictate the spacing. They don't necessarily have to be right up against each other.
Right.
But I think the larger the rocks, the greater the spacing. The smaller they are, it almost would have to now start to resemble, like a farmer's wall in the woods, from 100 years ago.
Could they do a farmer's wall?
Sure, I mean, I'm
You
not
know,
looking for
loose,
anything
loose fit
structural.
farmer's wall with
Yeah.
all the rocks that they're gonna excavate out?
I mean, this doesn't have to be anything that, you have to pull stone from another region, or it has to all be, like stream, washed beds of smooth stone. It's definitely could be anything on site that would satisfy and just be moved to,
Right, so that's just a suggestion, I think
Sure.
that as long as, depending on the size, I agree with you, depending on the size of the rocks, but you wanna have basically clear distance between the rocks. So is it like 36 inches, as someone suggested just now, or something like that, that might make sense.
Right, I mean, if you get them large enough, what is the posts are usually what, 8 feet apart when you do this type of fencing, or 10 feet apart?
Usually.
You get 8 and 10, right, Ralph? I believe 8 and 10.
I think they have different heights, 8, 10, 6,
Yeah, so 6 to 8 is what we usually do, I mean, 8 is, is a normal size, yeah.
Right, so if you did, 1.5 per post, 2 per post, depending on the size, I mean, you might be able to do 1 per post if the rocks are big enough, or you can, depending on, because I'll rely on you for how you feel sort of the aesthetic should be for a homeowner, but if you're viewing the back, I'm thinking about it, would the rocks be staggered, would the boulders be staggered such that they would be at the sort of center of the fence where the rails are horizontal, or would you look to line them up actually with the posts, the vertical
Actually,
posts?
would offset from the post because you already have spacing there.
Right,
You already have a break, so it would probably be, offset a couple
Okay.
of feet from the post, and then you have a couple of rocks in between, that's all.
yeah, no, that's kind of where I was at too. I didn't think you would need more than 2, and again, if they were of size, you might only need 1, depending on how big is big.
Sure. I mean, ultimately, we'll work with you, we'll show you what we're doing, but we like to work with the natural features, so
Sure,
we'll work perfectly with that.
okay.
So Sabrina, if we're going to go back to the split rail fence, we have to change the wording there on page 10, number 23, because that's speaking about the required low stone wall and post and fence on top of it. So I don't know what our wording was before, but we're gonna have to make that
You can
change.
revert back.
Yes.
And the split rail fence, like, as someone mentioned, I think like 42 inches probably works well for the purpose, so kids can actually stand next to it.
Yeah, I think we just,
You're gonna have-
we
you're gonna have
just
three
did enough to
posts.
exceed, like we said we weren't requiring 6.
I'm sorry?
We're gonna have three posts or 2, sometimes we make 2 and then 3 rails, 3 rails, 2 rails.
I think it's probably gonna be, in this case, 2 rail. 3 rails is too, it's too restricted, I think.
Okay, just show good details on it.
Yep.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, we gave you, I think, enough room here for you to design it, so we leave it to you to come back with the details for final.
Sure.
We'll make that change and remove it, change it from the stone wall to the split rail. With the boulders to be determined, to be designed, and then of course, Dennis, you're happy with 1 sign per household for home site? Did you want more? I don't know what you want for signs.
Yeah, I just figured a minimum of 1, depending on the sign, 1 may be fine, but it just seemed like to, make 1 giant sign and put it in the middle, obviously, just wanted to
No
avoid
billboard.
that. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Okay. So again, that's a detail that you can show in terms of the signage. Okay.
Are you guys preparing the wording, or are we doing that?
You already did, didn't you?
I don't think so.
I didn't see it.
When the signage came up, in the past, I think.
I'm pretty sure that Dennis and you worked that out.
I saw no wording on the plans.
Yeah, no, we didn't,
Dennis, can you give them the wording from the other site we worked on?
Sure, I'll try to find that one, it sounds good.
Thank you.
I'd rather not create anything.
Good.
But just make a little detail of the sign, size, management, site, with color, and then more, a little color placard on the plan, like,
It's a condition in here, guys.
Yeah, so,
And we'll make those changes on the stone wall as well.
Yep.
Back to what we had before, okay? Anyone against that?
No.
Okay. Made sense 2 months ago, so it kind of still makes sense. Okay, great. And we'll take care of the boulder wall. There's another item, this is I think number 25, which has really become kind of standard when we have pools. And we had some changes in that language. Jeff, you had that revised language, you know, when we have pools, they have to be self-contained, we've got that in here, but they also have to have backwash, they cannot be backwashed during the season to discharge onto the ground, into the wetlands, et cetera. And then all the drawdown at the end of the season, it's gotta be hooked up so it goes into the stormwater detention pond. So Jeff has actually put together some language, Jeff and Bob have got some language that we're going to insert on that, was it number 25? Yep, number 25 on page 10. Again, very standard, we do that on all of the subdivisions. We, whenever there's a new subdivision, we always ask the applicant to either provide some sort of recreation on site, or if they can't, then to contribute to the recreation fund. And the way that works is there's a fee per lot that's created. So in this case, we have 5 lots that are being created, and the rate now is $7,000 per lot. So we would be asking the applicant to contribute $35 to the recreation fund.
35,000.
35,000, what did I say?
$35.
$35, that would be for me, but 35,000.
but there's only 4 lots which are actually house lots.
Correct, but there's 5 lots altogether that are created by the subdivision. So you have the stormwater lot, the detention still counts as a lot. We decided that it would be important for you to use a name for the private road that you're going to create. I guess for a lot of reasons, emergency response, post office, etc. So we leave that to you. And one of the thoughts was, in case there's any kind of connection with this area, this particular property, with some sort of historical significance, you may want to contact the Historical Society just to see if there's some sort of significance for this area. We've done that before, for example, with the Reader's Digest property, and we used the names of some of the Reader's Digest founders, etc., for the roads. Dennis thinks there's a lot of sand out there, so he was thinking about quarry, but it's too hard to spell, especially if you try to use cursive.
Quarry Lane.
But
Okay.
we leave that you know, that's your marketing touch, whatever you wanna do, within reason is will be fine.
Thank you.
And you know, Bob gave me this note that, you know, once you actually start your work, it's supposed to be you know, as consistent or avoid unnecessary disturbance to steep slopes and vegetation to the maximum extent possible, and then also stay out of the wetlands to the maximum possible. I'm not so sure I really agree with that language. We have permits that you're being approved for, so whatever your activity is, it should be consistent with those approved permits. So do not create additional steep slopes and do not incur additional steep slopes issues or wetland issues, frankly, just stay within the 4 corners of the approvals. What we've also thought is, I'm not quite sure where the paragraph is, but it's in here toward the end. The planning board on this kind of a conservation site normally retains site plan jurisdiction for any future development, changes, etc. So it's probably something that will not impact you guys, but it will impact future homeowners. It's one of the other ways that we can help enforce what we think are the things that are worth protecting with the conservation development. We don't normally do it on standard developments, but on conservation developments, we normally do. Again, I don't think it has any.
Just clarification for that, actually dovetails my other question for item, which is 63 here.
Yes,
Because we have to obtain a variance from zoning board of appeals. So this is not as of right, we still have to go for variance?
Apparently,
Anything else?
apparently, John, maybe you could describe what the variance is. We actually talked about this just before the meeting, because I wasn't aware of it.
Yeah, because your driveway doesn't go to a road, to a town road. So you just needed 280A variance. Right?
But,
Well, I'm trying to understand what 280A variance is.
but don't we have frontage on the road?
Yeah, but the driveway has to go to the town road, not just the property.
So the individual driveways are going to the non-town
Private
road.
road.
Which is a private road, yes.
It's very technical, very administrative, but it should be, we can send you off to the
Is it
ZBA with a
4?
letter.
Does each lot need a variance or just one variance for the whole site? Oh, each lot, so it's 4 variants.
Yes.
Bob, will that
I spoke to the building inspector on this, Ralph. He felt it would not be an issue, but based on his interpretation, past practice, being consistent, he said it would be needed. There was a time to
Would they need a variance
So
for
the
the
variance,
fifth lot?
so we would apply for each lot when we apply for a building permit. That's correct? Okay.
They'll give you a denial letter.
Mhm.
I think you go to the zoning board with that denial letter and get a variance with the difference.
I mean, what kind of process is that in terms of variance?
2 months.
Okay.
This is a standard procedure that they would issue you the 280A for each of the lots. And it takes 2 months to go through the zoning board.
It's more of a formality. Keep in mind, your roads are already built, they're established at 24 feet wide, they're good for fire access. That comes up,
Yeah, they're not gonna,
and they're not gonna pick on anything because it's already built quite well and designed quite well, so it's almost gonna be a formality.
Can we document this in a letter for them to go to the ZBA? I mean, as a developer, 2 months is 2 months, right? So if we can,
Yeah, but you can't get to the ZBA without a denial. You have no jurisdiction without a denial of a building permit application.
Right.
That's just we can't do it early.
but can we give them a letter that says,
Can the,
We support the application.
You do a letter in support, sure.
for application that this is.
we have a letter from the building inspector.
Okay.
Okay. I don't think there's any problem with ours putting together a short memo, just saying, just to.
I mean, it's gonna be approved subdivision plan,
Yes.
right?
Right, folks, the building inspector wrote a memo, so can they use that?
Sure,
Take a look
sure.
at it.
Yeah, we'll take a look at it, we can use that, and we
Can
can
you
also,
write it to the board, Sabrina?
and we can supplement
He
it,
did.
as well and say, we endorse the building inspector's recommendation. Okay, those are the main points that I wanted to cover that were either non-standard or something that we hadn't talked about. I had sent a note around to folks and it's in here, I think Greg referred to it as well when he was asking the question before. I don't think we formally decided at the last meeting, but we had the recommendation of Dennis, we had the recommendation of the Conservation Board that we should consider the healthy Norway maples to be trees in terms of interpreting the tree clearing and the need for replacement as well as the fund if they can't be replaced on site. So again, we have some discretion on this, but I think it would be, I wouldn't anticipate that we would go against the recommendation of the Conservation Board and the Environmental Coordinator on that issue. And we were talking before, Greg was talking informally before, and it probably, there are some areas that perhaps we can add a few more trees that will, take care of the tree fund and mitigate that issue. But it's not going to take care of the situation. So they're gonna have to contribute to the tree fund to some degree, whatever, there's gonna be a delta on whatever that change is. So, and again, we'll see the final landscape plan when you come back with final and we can play with it at that point, but we don't wanna hold you up at this point on that and get this through
Okay.
preliminary.
okay,
Okay.
Ralph, are there any questions that you have? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just a couple more questions. One is, and I found it to be curious, you guys want us to clear the trees within 1 year of getting plat plan approval. I'm not exactly sure why you want us to do that. I mean, I have no problem doing it, but if a project gets delayed, I mean, we want to keep the trees for as long as possible. I was just curious why there's a 1 year deadline there.
Well, I think it's that the tree permit is good for a year, correct? So it's not
You'd have to come back and renew the permit, the tree removal permit.
Well, you have an extension from the planning board.
Correct.
So it's just set up in our regulation that it's supposed to be done within a year. We're not necessarily urging you to do it. We understand that there are delays and problems and issues. So it's again, a pro forma type of thing if you need an extension on any of these environmental permits.
Okay, just curious. And one more point of clarification, as you were mentioning before, each individual lot is subject to a planning board approval. Is it just that we're submitting to you and you guys are looking at it, or how does this process work?
So when you go to develop each lot,
Right.
you will have to submit to the planning board for the individual lot for site plan approval. They will compare what you are submitting to construct in that site plan, they will compare it to what was proposed in the subdivision to make sure that there's consistency. And if there are changes, you would address those changes to the board and they would be the approving authority. They would ask you.
Really within the parameters of what approvals are? Is it just a staff approval, or is, I mean, I'm just trying to understand. So
It's planning board, not just go through the building department.
no, of course, I understand that. But you
You're gonna do on spec?
yeah, we're gonna do on spec, yeah, we're gonna do on spec, and probably
You're
gonna
gonna
do two at a time. If the house sells prior, we're probably not gonna apply for full permit. Why? We have all the parameters in place.
As long as it stays within those, yeah,
Makes sense.
if they come in, they want an invisible pool that's going down to the wetland, I mean, then we have a different situation.
Evan, item 6. I'm asking this, they're not roosting and then the new birds aren't, or the new bats aren't there. Can we do something March, April and May when all the new nests are up and we're wiping out 2 generations of birds? Make this also so going up to 6 where we say you gotta cut down all the trees in a year.
Right.
Do these 6 months or these 4 months or tree removal cannot occur during the.
I'll leave it to Dennis and John on that, but I don't know if we have anything that we can use as a touchstone in seeker, other than we just like birds, which is.
Let's take a step back and work this almost backwards goalposts, because fortunately, the bat window, as I've always referred to it, kind of takes care of that. So indirectly,
It occurs.
it helps the bats, and
Okay.
this is the window, so.
But Dennis, in this particular case, that's only if
You're looking to hire people to actually do a presence and absence survey, you really wanna do mist netting and echo, so, yeah, so I think we're gonna be good on that.
Yeah.
That was it for me.
okay, Ralph, any questions, issues?
No, not for me.
Okay, as it will be amended, is there a motion to adopt the, okay, well, thank you. We'll
Thank
see
you, everyone.
see you for
Appreciate
final.
Good night, happy holidays.
Thank you.
See you all.
For Tucci. Okay. Okay. Sabrina, you wanna run through your comments?
Sure, no problem. In the Hammond Ridge Conservation Subdivision, and it was constructed with an allowable building coverage of 4,200 square feet. Also allowed 10% increase in building coverage and a 15% increase building permits. It affected the coverage limitations and stormwater requirements. So the property itself was transferred in 2024, and the new owners are before you to correct the situation. So, right now, this application is a type 2 action under the State Environmental Quality Review Act. when it comes to coverage, which is one of really my only issue, two issues, is the coverage issue for building coverage is compliant with the limitations that were set by the resolution. The development coverage, however, is over what was set by roughly 1,963 square feet. The applicant needs to correct a reference on the plans that are seeking a variance for this coverage. This is not a zoning dictated limitation, it is a planning board limitation. So there is no such thing as this board giving a variance, or you go into zoning for this variance. So there are a couple changes that need to be clarified on the plan set. There seems to be an incorrect number in relation to the variance based on what the actual disturbance is. In addition, I requested that a coverage map be prepared. While there is a coverage detail and a map, the acreage, the specific size of the different areas are not on the plan. I'd like to be able to confirm the sizes that are listed in the coverage calculation worksheet, so the applicant has some work to do there. So with that 1,987 square foot overage in building or in development coverage, I think there's really two options for the applicant to consider, or that I'd like to discuss with the planning board. The applicant can change the clearing and grading limit line and swap out areas and provide some sort of mitigation, but that will require a new declaration to be filed with the county, identifying that new clearing and grading limit line. The other option is for the applicant to consider reducing the amount of impervious surfaces on the site to reduce the almost 2,000 square foot overage. And that is all I have for you.
Right. I mean, I think from our standpoint, the issue for us, the public policy issue for us is the mitigation that we wanna see to offset the increase of almost 2,000 square feet. So it's almost like, by the way, you can see where the 110, 115 comes in. Here it is, you know, connecting the dots from a prior application. So the issue is, and I think Sabrina has really laid it out very correctly and very appropriately, it's up to the applicant how they want to address the mitigation. She outlined two options, and we've done this, in fact, even on this subdivision with prior applications. So people can pull up some of the areas that they have built without permits, or they can take a few slices of the lawn and restore that back to wooded areas, or something more naturalistic and not mowed, for example. So there are ways of handling this, but we haven't seen any kind of mitigation yet, so that's gonna be critical to it seems to me, to the finalization of this approval. And again, we can leave the choice to the applicant in terms of what might be better, easier. I think Sabrina has laid out one option, which, the clearing grading limit lines will trigger some additional work in terms of filings, et cetera.
Good evening, J.B. Hernandez, I'm representing ARQ. And representing, as Sabrina mentioned before, this is, the property was sold, so I think at this point I will confirm with the client, but at this point I think that we'll probably work with Sabrina and Denison to see what kind of mitigation we can do. I'm not sure that the current clients will be looking into reducing the amount of impervious area they have, so we will reach out and try to work out and find out what kind of mitigation is suitable for my client, the prior owner, and the current owner of the property.
Okay, so with that, Mr. Hernandez, I think that we're happy to meet with you and to discuss some options, but please note that if you choose to do that, you will be drawing a new clearing and grading limit line, which will require a filing, a survey line to be submitted on a subdivision plat and filed with the Westchester County Health Department. Okay, so it's another process that you will go through.
Okay. But the ultimate is to reduce the.
Correct, or a combination of both.
Okay.
Jeff, I think you had some
Okay.
comments before we leave this application. You had some comments or some comments indicating that you were satisfied with a lot of the materials that you received.
As far as stormwater goes, it's fine, there's other stuff that they have to put on the plans, obviously, but stormwater wise, they were okay.
Okay,
Remember last time, we were trying to understand the different colors on S100? You had the blue, the red, the yellow, the green, the purple, what exactly each of those are?
Those will refer to different, those are steep slopes and there is no, EMAB will provide anyone with that as well.
well, the purple seems to be
Purple's impervious.
increased impervious.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, no, okay.
Yeah.
Will you be able to share, or am I?
Yes, share your screen.
Oh. If you're referring to, this is the colors, we showed this color, this is the area that were added.
I know the purple you added, but what about the red, the blue, the yellow, and the green?
Going
That's,
alongside the road.
Yeah.
Can
The
you
steep
share or
slopes
no?
and- Yeah, I thought it was Sharon, I'm sorry.
Not yet,
Okay,
there you go.
there. Okay,
Not quite.
Not yet. Ah, there we
There
go.
we go, perfect.
there. So this is the area that were added, these two. This is steep slopes, and this is the area that we are putting the stormwater.
So, the blue is, what's the blue? 15%?
I think less than 50%.
And then green is 15 to 25, yellow is
Yes,
25 to 35, and red is,
yes.
okay.
And I apologize, there should have been a key
Yeah, we need
key
to,
legend that we will put that in the next round.
thank you.
And that's existing.
Yes,
Yeah,
no. The steep slopes are existing, is the stormwater existing?
no, the stormwater is not existent. We're proposing this. This is the
Blue is
area.
what they're proposing, and then the purple is what they're trying to mitigate.
Yes.
Okay. So, cause I'm looking at the difference in the aerials in the upper right corner, and I can't really see a difference in
The driveway.
the driveways. So what you're proposing here is you're actually going to modify the driveways with these steep slopes.
This is in a 2018 photo, and this is 2024.
The work is already done with the driveway, the patio. The only work that they are proposing to do is to add the stormwater.
Got it. So we're not,
Yeah,
there isn't any steep slope work because it's already been done.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
And the applicant didn't do the work, it was the prior owner.
Prior,
Correct.
Yes.
They're
Yes.
correcting the work.
cleaning up the mess.
Okay.
Yes.
But 2,000 feet's a lot of feet to.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Okay. All right, so we'll look forward to updated drawings and updated information with regard to mitigation. And when it's all set, talk with staff and we'll see it again.
All right.
Okay?
Thank you. Happy holidays to
Thank you. You too. Okay, we have the minutes, somewhere I have minutes. The minutes of December 2nd.
I had one thing I would like to add.
Okay.
Page 2, you can do it after line 32. You ready? Oh, I wrote it, I could just give it to you what I wrote.
Sure.
I just wanna put in for, so everybody else knows, I had talked to Ralph about flanking the entry with trees, and he said he was gonna study it for today's meeting.
Right.
And he never did. So I'd just like to have it in the minutes, that he said he was gonna do it so I could bring it up next
You can
time.
revisit it when it comes to submit final.
Exactly. And I looked, you
Make
can
a
move,
note, I'll make a note.
and all those fields could be moved or adjusted so he could get trees flanking that. So I was waiting for him to say, no, I can't, the fields are in the way.
Okay,
But that's all I had on the
good.
minutes.
Anyone else, any changes? Okay, is there a motion then to adopt the meeting minutes of December 2nd
As amended,
as amended?
motion?
Second,
Second,
all in favor?
aye.
I'm abstaining because I wasn't here.
Okay. You can adopt, you can, yeah, we did this before. If you,
If you
Fine,
have the
admin.
minutes.
right,
So are you?
if you were dumb enough to actually watch us.
I did watch, in
But if you
preparation.
actually read all everything, you
All right,
actually
so you're
couldn't.
good.
I'm good.
legally
I watched
couldn't
it in preparation for this.
Okay, they, for the minutes.
All right, I'll include you in the count.
Very good, thank you. Alrighty, is there a motion to close the meeting?
Motion.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Happy holidays, everyone. Enjoy.
Happy
Holidays,
holidays,
on
thank
TV.
you.
This is the second year in a row without having Chappaqua
He did study those
It's
trees.
very
I
strange,
was
no
wondering if
such
he studied
things.
the bird protective glass.
Yeah, I didn't bring that one up either.
Are we off?
We're off, I think.